You know what I like to do?
Talk into a microphone?
Yeah, and also get in on the action with
Have a
sports
big
interaction.
head.
Yeah. Wear bare feet in the freezing cold.
Be a dad.
Friggin' wear V-necks that are actually
It's not a
crew-necks.
V-neck, okay?
Sorry.
Sports interaction. NHL, NBA, MLB, so much more. It's the friend I don't have, clearly. Crazy Odds, best live and play. Download the app in Ontario. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or you can head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. 19 plus. Please play responsibly and get better friends.
Yell at the computer. He does that too.
And
It'll take a long time.
I think for a lot of people this is going to be hard, but the reality of the situation is this era of the Toronto Maple Leafs is over. And I think you've seen all you need to see, in my opinion, with Brendan Shanahan not being available to speak today. I have asked a couple of times off the air, and I don't know if I've asked on the air, where is Brendan? Where are you? I saw him a couple of times.
Yes.
In the box with Dubas, a couple of times.
I hope he's okay. Like, to be honest.
Okay. Well, he's been around the team the whole time. We know that.
This is the thing, right? That's what, at first it was like concern. Like, is he, I don't know. But then when we found out he was in the building and just not visible, that was concerning.
When times were good, you auspiciously, you saw Dubas, you saw Shanahan, you saw them on camera. And you might be saying, well, you're making too much of this, blah, blah, what do you know? Fair enough. You can say that, but I do read into this. Brendan Shanahan, if nothing else, is extraordinarily deliberate in what he does.
Great word.
You can never say that Brendan Shanahan did something without planning it first. This is not a whimsical human being. This is a guy who is a Hall of Famer with 3 rings, who came to Toronto and said, we're going to get it done. That is his quote. Yep. And when Lamoriello was in Toronto, the 3 of them would be in the box together. When Dubas was his handpicked guy and it was time for Lamoriello to move along in 2018, it was the 2 of them. And it's been the 2 of them in the box with their support staff ever since. And this year, suspiciously, with all of this riding on the line, he was no longer there. So I personally do read into that.
Someone's got to do something bombastic here, because the Leafs need change. Well, what about Shanahan? Well, no, not that. And Kyle, well, no, not that. And Pridham, well, no, not that. And Keefe, well, no, not that.
And the core 4.
And then the core 4, well, no,
them.
not this guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. Well, okay, so why should we expect anything to change?
And this is, but the big change to me, Brendan Shanahan always spoke on media day.
So
how is he not speaking?
If he goes, though, so the president of the team leaving means...
I didn't even get there yet.
Well...
Do you think that he's not speaking because he's leaving?
But it means... What does it mean?
That's what I want to ask.
Change underneath him, right? So whether that's... like what... Here's what I think is potentially going to happen here. And it's going to be a real tough play publicly. Okay. A lot of Leaf fans are going to hate it. And I think it might ultimately be the right decision, but no one's going to like it.
Do it.
Your uncle's going to hate it. Dubas promoted to president. Mm-hmm. Pridham potentially GM. As GM.
Please be Eric Tulsky instead. Not that it anything against Pridham, but Eric Tulsky, please.
That'd be cool. You could do that.
Jesse's wearing the bunch of shirts.
It's probably Pridham.
Yeah, it probably is.
And then what though?
And then Sheldon Keefe is fired.
So
I don't see Sheldon Keefe surviving.
I think Sheldon
the next
Keefe's
48 hours.
That would take a piece of Dubas to do. And
tough shit.
Well, yeah, tough shit. But like, this is what people are saying. Like, you can stay. The whole argument for getting Dubas to go is he stuck by his guys and he's going to go down with the ship. If he wants to stay, no, you need to build another boat.
Your ship has a leak in it.
Yeah.
It hit an iceberg.
An irreparable leak. We need to build another boat or fix the boat, however you want the analogy to go. And that is going to involve firing a friend. Mm-hmm. And it's going to hurt and it's going to suck. And that's going to involve probably getting rid of one of the dudes you committed to big time financially, resources, years. So I'm just not interested in Dubas staying if there's no change, because again, it's what I've seen from a lot of people in defense of Dubas is he gave this team all the tools that they needed to win. And I agree. Like, Jesus, Ryan O'Reilly, I never fathomed they'd be able to get this guy. And then when they went with the 1-2-3, I'm like, well, who the fuck beats that? Answer's Florida, apparently. But even though he gave them the tools to succeed, they didn't. They didn't.
And I think that falls on the coaching.
Him!
No, because Dubas gave them tools. If we're all in agreement that Dubas gave them the tools, then the execution wasn't there by the tools that he got and the coaching. And I think that's where things fall on Sheldon Keefe, and he probably doesn't survive this
I
week.
agree with that, Jesse.
I agree, but he assembled all of that and kept it together, right? There is a very legitimate argument to fire Kyle Dubas.
I don't think anyone's arguing that, though.
Like, no, but
I
I
think
don't
we're
want that to
questioning-
happen, but
he
there's...
kept it together until he's going to tear it down this week or in this summer.
and-
So this is the thing. He has to make changes or get out.
Well, I think, you know what? The one thing I'll give him credit for is, to this point, he has learned from his mistakes, in each and every year we see a little bit of an edge closer to, away from the original Dubas brand, which the NHL is still convinced the guy lives by, which is all speed, all scoring, tiny guys. That is not what the Leafs are anymore. In fact, they're slow as fuck, and they need to speed up.
They coulda-
The Panthers expose them, and the Panthers aren't even that fast. Like they were, and Ryan O'Reilly said in his press conference today that he didn't generate enough after, like throughout the playoffs and that sort of thing. To be honest with you, none of the team did. They finished their last 7 games with 2 goals in every game. That's not enough. And I look at the way that Sheldon ran those lines out in Columbus. I look at the way Sheldon ran those lines out against, what was it, Montreal. I look at the way. So in Columbus, he got desperate. It took a last second freaking comeback for them to even stay in that series and push it to Game 5, and then they got blown out in Game 5.
A literally record-setting comeback.
After Game 2 in the Montreal series. The worst coach in NHL history, Dominic Ducharme. The worst coach we've ever seen. The guy who scratched Cole Caulfield in the playoffs.
Wylde is right, but yeah.
Was able to, take Sheldon Keefe's lunch money and isolate Austin Matthews coming off what do you have, 40-something goals that year? Isolate him.
In a 56-game season.
Yeah, after Tavares goes down, Montreal gets better and better and better and finally shuts him down, and they win Game 7. And then you've got the last 2 against Tampa. You got Tampa last year where they had nothing to show for it in Game 7. Nothing.
Can I go back to the Montreal series?
Please, yeah.
Because it's so relevant in this whole postmortem. Because, a big narrative coming out of the Tampa series this year, they finally beat them, is they get over the hurdle mentally. Well, they obviously didn't, right? They obviously didn't. If they're able to get over the hurdle 2 years ago, when they fucking should have,
We're not having this chat.
we're not having this
Not
chat.
this way.
You had a 3-1 lead over Montreal. I don't care how good they were. And, look, there's, they went to the Stanley Cup final and they beat the Jets and they beat Vegas and
Guys.
they beat you 3 straight.
No excuse.
They beat you 3 straight, and they just shouldn't have been able to do that. And then you get over that hump. You take on the Jets. I still stand by the Leafs would have run them the fuck over, especially if they had actually finally gotten over the hump and beaten Montreal. And then all of a sudden you have an appearance in the Final Four.
Things look a lot different.
Things look so much different. And I streamed those games. You know when the Leafs lost that series?
When?
First period of Game 5. First period of Game 5, Montreal, the entire period, ran the Leafs over. Murdered them. Ran straight through their chest. They had their season ended by Joel Armia, for God's sake. Because I think he had 2 goals in that first period. Montreal killed them, but Sheldon and this team are rarely able to stop the onslaught.
They can't stop it in game, ever.
No, and you know what saves them? Because you look at the 4-1 comeback against Tampa. It involves the other team taking their foot off the gas. If if they never take their foot off the gas, they just continue to kill the Leafs. But Montreal, who also let the Leafs back into that game by taking their foot off the gas, the Leafs come back from 3-0 down. The Leafs in the first period and in the second period were not able to do a damn thing about that first period onslaught. And game 1 against Tampa and second period against Florida, they're so rarely able to stop those moments, right? And you can go look at them over the course of the game. They were the better team. Those moments ruin everything. I keep talking about the booger cake. It's like
Still a boogers. It's still made of boogers.
it's a beautiful masterpiece of a wedding cake. Booger right in the middle of it. Are you eating that cake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you even going to cut around it? No. The cake's ruined. The whole thing is ruined because of that one little mistake.
Adam, back to kind of what you were outlining. It's Columbus, Montreal, Tampa, Florida. That's 5 series that Sheldon Keefe has been in. I think Sheldon Keefe's kind of 0 for 5 in getting outcoached.
You got outcoached by John Tortorella.
What series did he outcoach anyone?
Yeah, I think he's 0 for 5 in terms of winning the coaching battle.
You can't talk to us with a straight face and say he outcoached any of those guys.
No.
And what are you going to give me, guys? What are you going to give me? Goalie.
No.
Stop. Like, just...
Goalies are members of the team. They're on the ice.
They're members of the team, and you're also able to help your goalie
The
out.
Leafs are top 5, if I'm not mistaken, in scoring every single year that we're mentioning. If you can't score, then you're just not fucking good enough, man.
Force them to the outside. Force them to the outside. The reason they were able to get to Vasilevsky last year and this year is we found out, actually... It's better for him if the shots are kind of on the inside. If you take shots from the outside through traffic, he has difficulty tracking them. Every other goalie, force them to the outside. They're a bunch of wimps. They're not going to be able to do anything.
And they're right. As I told you last episode, the Leafs have no forecheck. No. They have one way to get in, which is drop pass, try to squeeze it by. If they had a forecheck, they could do the drop pass thing, or they could flip it over the defenseman's head and do what the Florida Panthers did and what the Tampa Bay Lightning did on the way to their finals appearances, which is run guys into the boards until they say fucking uncle. And so I want to talk about this because I think Keefe is a part of the change here.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like we're giving the players excuses.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Because I want to go right to the players.
Okay, because it's also on them.
And we talk about the players and we talk about management. I want to quote Down Goes Brown, who is on an absolute fucking heater right now. Okay?
Oh, this is his Super Bowl.
This is he's so good at contextualizing things. And one of the things that I'm seeing is, well, you can't trade, I'm just going to randomly name a name from the core four. You can't trade Tavares. Nobody would want that contract. I've said that.
Down Goes Brown is the orchestra on the Titanic.
You can't trade Mitch Marner. You would get 75 cents on the dollar. Down Goes Brown points out that last year what did the Florida Panthers win?
President's Trophy.
Right. What happened to them in the second round?
They got swept.
They got crushed by a team from where?
Tampa.
Florida. So two years in a row, team with a really good record gets crushed by a team from Florida.
Whoa.
And
meta.
He said, so the Panthers are going to the East Final this year. How did they do it is how he starts it off. Well, let's talk about what they didn't do. They didn't run it back. They didn't stay the course. They didn't swear unwavering allegiance to the core, and they didn't fall all over themselves to preemptively squash any thoughts of impending changes before they could even get started. They didn't talk a big game about results being unacceptable while also making it perfectly clear that nothing significant would ever be different. Instead, those 2022 Panthers started their summer with a controversial coaching change, and it was highly criticized. By myself included. I thought that was weird. Andrew Burnett didn't get to go back. And highlighted it with one of the biggest trades in recent history, which is Huberdeau for Tkachuk and Weegar too. Not only not one that was focused on draft picks or prospects or depth around the edges. They traded one of the key pieces of the core. And in hindsight, they won the Matthew Tkachuk trade, apparently missing the memo all the rest of us got about how it's completely impossible to make a trade like that in today's NHL. To borrow the cliche, they changed the culture. They actually did it, as opposed to mumbling about it. Now, you can look at the Panthers' regular season, and you could say, man, they just squeaked in. And I say to you, who gives a shit?
from a PR standpoint, trading Jonathan Huberdeau after the season he had is asinine. From a PR standpoint.
He set a record for most assists by a left winger in NHL history.
That's crazy.
That includes the 80s.
That's crazy, right? And how do you win that trade the day it happens? I don't think you can. But if you look at it, I mean, ignoring all other numbers, you just look at it like an idiot like me instead of, pulling out all the stats. What are the odds he does it again? You look at his age, you look at his career beforehand. He's a good player, really good player.
Very good.
What are the odds he sets a record for most assists? So this dude set a record, and we still only got 4 wins in the playoffs, and we need 16. That is actually the exact moment you're supposed to pull the trigger on a trade like that. Right? He did as good as he could possibly do. It is unreasonable to expect him to do better, and we still fell short. That's actually when you pull the trigger on a move like that.
We've talked about how this team is process-driven, Steve. Process, the process. You got to trust the process. This is the process.
And no, that is not what I said at the time.
I'm
still learning.
And listen, all of us bought in because first off, the Leafs pre this era had no process. It was just like, here's a ham sandwich, throw it at the wall. I sure hope they win the cup. Anyway, see you later. Enjoying that. Thanks, Teachers Fund. When the ownership changed, so then did the mentality. And it was a new mentality that was sold to Leaf fans in about 2014, 2015 when things bottomed out. And they brought in Lou, and they brought in Shanny, and they brought in Dubas. And they said, listen, we are going to stick to our process. This is what we believe will win. But Lou famously deviated from that and said it's a 5-year plan that changes every day. The Leafs have not had a 5-year plan that changed every day. It's just a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And I think if you are a process-driven organization, I love that. But when your process fails to yield results, which is the point of the process, then the process must change. And that's where Leaf fans, I think, get a little stuck because we are a group of people that loves analytics, and I think we should. But it's like, well, the analytics say, but the result on the scoreboard says something else. And to be honest with you, if you look at the deserve to win a meter last night, Vegas and Edmonton, Vegas's deserve to win a meter score was 28%.
Aiden Hill.
And other things. And Edmonton's
Aiden
terrible goaltending and questionable defense and.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. I really can't.
So Down Goes Brown tweeted this today. He's like, I remain amazed by how many fans will happily accept, but it's hard to win a trade as a reason not to even think about trying. He's like, can you imagine Sheldon Keefe saying, getting your team ready to show up on time and actually play 60 minutes in crucial games is very hard. Stop expecting me to do it. And it's, you know what? At this point, if the Leafs retain Dubas, Shanny, any of this management group, if they do not change the process, do not expect a different result. And I think if there's a new GM in there, the process will change. But I don't know that I necessarily want a new GM. I want the current GM to learn from this. And I think he will.
I have a really hard time thinking the organization loses Dubas and gets better.
Me too.
Also, look at the candidates out there. Like you said, unless you're able to steal, the best assistant general manager in the game in Eric Tulsky, or promote another one of the best ones in Brandon Pridham. This team wouldn't have hit the ice without him for a number of the past years. And, Dubas was able to do some pretty crazy things because of this guy. But at the end of the day, you can't change the fact that it's a hard cap.
And things will need to change.
It comes down to not being able to afford the core four. But before we talk about the core four, Kyle Dubas has gotten so incredibly unlucky on a number of things. And it's not an excuse. There's been a number of things where he was just flat out wrong. But he made a very reasonable bet. And the bet is, I'm going to bet on superstar talent to long-term deals and big money. Because we're the Toronto Maple Leafs, we can spend the cap every year, and the cap is going to go up. What happened? A once-in-a-century pandemic shut the world down, kept fans out of the building, and kept the cap stagnant.
And they have remained one of the NHL's top regular season teams.
That's nuts, isn't it?
It is. It's hard to do.
Consider it like that's.
So clearly that part of it works.
Yeah, but that core was the crux of his plan, and it just got yard sailed. And they won a division in the middle of it, and like
Canadian division.
I know, Canadian division, whatever. They were the best one, right? Out of the division, out of the very shitty division, they were the best.
Montreal
one.
was actually the best one out of the division.
Well, we know that now, but during the regular season,
Yeah, fair enough.
you know what I mean. And
Have they even hung a banner for that division win?
I hope so.
No, there's no banner.
There's not. Usually for division
you mean
wins,
the
you do
Leafs?
hang a banner.
I
don't
thought
you?
you meant the Habs. No, you
No.
don't hang division banners.
No.
The Raptors do.
The Raptors are an expansion team. They are.
Okay. All right. Let me.
No,
I don't know.
No, but like
would the Leafs hang a Atlantic Division
Well,
banner if they
the
won
Jays
Atlantic?
do. Lots of teams do.
Baseball divisions mean a little. They're a little.
They mean a
different.
little.
Yeah, there was a point when winning division was the only way to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know.
So who's still here though? Is what I'm saying. If Dubas's plan, like even if the cap was sluggish, it would have gone up. For God's sake, is Hyman still here? Is Mikheyev still here? You know,
Hyman, I think, is still here.
Are you able to upgrade the team without needing to get rid of Sandin? Are you able to upgrade the team without getting rid of Engvall? Are you able to upgrade
hope
the
not.
team? No, wait. Are you able to get rid of the team without getting rid of Mason Marchment? Are you able to upgrade the team without getting rid of Alex Barabana for nothing? And you're going to look at that and go, well, a bunch of those guys aren't big names. It's death by 1,000 cuts. Kapanen, and that ended up being the right move. And there's another one where they got unlucky. Dude, that's a heist. That is an actual heist. Getting the 15th overall pick for Kasperi Kapanen. And you make your pick and he gets sick. You can't plan for that. And it's one of those things that's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault, and it's the worst luck imaginable. I hope he makes the show,
But
man. I hope he makes the show, and I hope
Rodion
he does
Amirov?
it here.
Yeah.
Every GM has 30 of those. You know, that's the circumstances you're playing with. That's the circumstances of the National Hockey League. You know, those
Yes.
things will happen. So that just goes into, hey, this is the cards you're dealt. What are the results?
We're not talking about a regular economic recession, though. We're talking about COVID, right? And the Leafs swung the hardest on the cap going up. And
I don't
but
know.
they had an opportunity to adjust over the last couple of years by trading one of those guys, and they refused to do it.
I look at a team like Vegas, who every year doesn't care what the cap is. They spend all of the money in the world, and they say, we're going to figure it out. You know? And all they do is get results and win.
Yeah, but Jesse, they had legitimate surgery. Stop.
Yeah, but they won.
Like they did the same thing for back-to-back years, and you're expecting me to just believe, oh, that's just how it worked out. Stop.
So I don't
Please
know.
stop, everybody.
I don't express sympathies for the situations that Dubas was dealt.
No,
you know?
I think that's the job. The job is the job. And to be honest with you, the Leafs have been unlucky so many times. Part of me is starting to wonder if it's on purpose.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like, oh, well, he got unlucky here and they got unlucky there. It's like maybe they're not. Maybe they're just not good enough.
Eventually, sometimes you get so many dings on your car that you're just a bad driver.
Yeah.
It's not the other people on the road.
How many bad takes do I need to have before I'm not unlucky anymore and just stupid?
So this is an
And by the way, the answer to that question, that ship sailed a long time ago.
Oh, we know you're done. But like the this is an extension of the conversation we had last show. Oh, they got to keep Dubas somehow. Why? Like based on
You know
all
why?
the
I'll
points
tell you-
we've just made,
I'll
why?
tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I'm seeing a person learn on the job. The guy's not even 40. This is a person who adjusts quicker than you think. Those things that he got unlucky with, look at what he's done in spite of those circumstances.
Yeah.
He is, anybody that says, if you're a Leaf fan and you think that it's impossible to make a trade, the best things Kyle Dubas has done for this team is make trades. With the everybody brings up the Kadri trade. Guys, Kadri got traded because he was suspended 2 times in a row in 2 hypercritical series in which he was going to play a major role against Boston, and then
He fucked
got
Calgary,
suspended
too.
again the next fucking year.
I mean, not Calgary, sorry, Colorado.
So if he hadn't have got suspended twice in a row. The third time, people would have been like, Dubas, are you fucking crazy?
And that would have been his job.
That would have been his job. He had to trade Kadri. When he's forced to make a trade, boy, it didn't look good. But I can tell you, the thing I'm honestly most pissed off about his entire time here in terms of trades is letting Jared McCann go. That pissed me off. You held Justin Hall for Jared McCann. I fucking said it. It's the one goddamn thing I was right
and
about.
Now what's Hall going to do?
What's that?
Well, now what's Hall going to do?
He's going to walk to free agency. Because he's not
after
good
being
enough.
awful.
And so we go
again. Why? I'm sorry. Why does he have to stay?
Remind me, I want to relitigate something from that expansion draft as well with Vegas when we get there.
Let's do it.
All right.
I think I know where you want to go with that. By the way, I think I know exactly where you want to go.
Another tough one because you have to prepare for him potentially getting fired. As someone who talks about this team, doing the Zaitsev trade, good. Getting Ceci, bad. Keeping him when you did not need to.
Well, that is early Kyle Dubas to me. That's early on in his GM tenure, and he was hard-headed. You have to be a bit egotistical to think that you're smart enough to run an NHL team.
Fair.
And this guy had a couple of those players. He tried to claim that Cody Ceci was actually valuable. Tried to tell me that Pierre Engvall was actually effective. Try to
If I see another Pierre Engvall chart, I'm blocking you.
Yeah, like enough.
Tweet them at him. Tweet them at Steve.
I see another Pierre Engvall chart.
Pierre Engvall, just make them up. Pie charts, anything.
Make them up. They don't have to be real.
No, not real. Pierre Engvall's expected goals are 100%. How dare you?
How come one scores 100 points and the other doesn't?
What, Pierre Engvall and Marner?
Yeah. No, they're the same. The fuck?
All I want from the entire Twitter Leafs community
Don't let us down.
Send charts to @Steve_Dangle of Pierre Engvall being the greatest player alive.
Yeah, and make it up. Make it up completely.
Make it up. I don't give a shit. I won't check the numbers.
But I want to say this on
I won't check.
The Leafs. What the Leafs have to do is trade. If they're going to make changes, they have to trade. I've seen this general manager go from we got to be small and fast to we got to be big and heavy, which they were this year, just not heavy enough.
They got slower after the trade deadline.
Way slower. Ryan O'Reilly's slow. But he made great trades. I know Jake McCabe drove people crazy. You give that guy a full season with the Leafs under a head coach that actually can explain and deploy him properly. Jake McCabe is going to be one of the best defensemen on the Toronto Maple Leafs for the next 2 years.
I think he'll be fine.
In fact, I think he's going to be... You're talking about TJ Brody potentially on the downspout of his career, and that's not outrageous to say. He's in the last year of his deal. Jake McCabe is going to step up into the role that TJ Brody will be leaving at the end of next season. And I think I am a big believer in Jake McCabe. I'm a big believer in, the Ryan O'Reilly Noel Acciari trade was fantastic. Even Gustafsson had really good moments in the playoffs. I thought he was one of the more effective puck-moving defensemen they had.
I wouldn't...
And he still got a first-round pick, too.
Yeah. And everyone's saying that that's going to be pitched out the door with Matt Murray. I'm not sure.
I'm not so sure about that.
We'll see. I could see them having to do what they did with Mrazek, and they maybe have to move down a few spots. It's almost the exact same pick.
Quote Justin Bourne on this podcast years ago. What's the big friggin' difference?
Or is it?
If you're down 10 spots. And I think that there will be teams looking to add a backup at a certain price. If the Leafs buy out Matt Murray, I think they'll have like $18 million in cap space.
Nah, LTIR.
Or they LTIR.
Yeah.
Either way,
Robidas needs some company.
They're going to have it. So the question is, how much is Kyle Dubas suited for this situation? Well, I think he's perfectly suited. The best thing that he has done for this team, it's not re-signing restricted free agents. Hello, Kasperi Kapanen, Andreas Janssen, a couple extra million for Mitch. It is, and William Nylander's contract going really late into the season. His best moves have been trades. And this guy's learned. He knows, based on what they acquired this year, what the Leafs need to be. He knows they need to have, what did we say last episode, more fuck you in their game. So I don't think you could find a guy better to move on from one of the core four than this guy. And I am one of those people in Leafs Nation where you'd have to shock me to tell me why. You'd have to blow me away with incredible inside information to show me why one of these guys should not be moved on from.
They need a GM who can get the right people, and they need a coach who makes these guys into bad people. Off the ice, you're signing autographs, you're kissing babies, whatever. The moment the puck drops, you're a bad person. Like you any other workplace, you'd be on a watch
we're
list,
the
you'd be
villains now.
arrested.
The Leafs are the Empire in Star Wars. Start acting like Darth Vader.
It would never occur to anyone on the current roster to do what Mark Stahl did at the end of regulation Game 5. And you're allowed to do it. I had such a frustrating conversation on Sportsnet this morning on the radio because I think it was Brent Gunning. It was Brent Gunning or Justin Cuthbert. It's hard to tell who's who on the phone. Was talking about if the Leafs did assemble that team, a team of bullies, would it then become a problem? And all of a sudden now the league's got to crack down?
Good.
Fuck my life good. Because then they made the adjustment to be that team and then they decide that you can't be that team.
I don't know. That's not going to happen. What are you talking about?
Jesse, there's nothing I wouldn't believe. There's nothing I wouldn't believe. Like, we lied to ourselves last show. You can't blame the refs. Watch me. Why wasn't that a penalty? No. Okay, I think two things can be true at once. They weren't good enough, and also they got completely fucked. You cannot do that to any player, let alone a star player. The overtime winner shouldn't have fucking counted.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have fucking counted.
Definitely not. No. It was a penalty on the play.
There's a penalty on the... Yarncroke wasn't able to do his job. How is that any different than boxing out a goalie so that he can't move across? And that's goalie interference. Yarncroke, that the Cousins shot wouldn't have been a shot.
It's not.
It wouldn't have even gone on goal.
It's not the referee's fault.
Yes, it fucking is.
That their season came down to an OT winner.
I agree.
Game 5. Where they put themselves in that situation.
I agree, because the Leafs should have started overtime with a power play.
The referees didn't put them down 3-0, 0-3 in the series to Florida.
Jesse, no, they didn't.
I don't think the refs did that.
No,
Steve.
they didn't. I do think it's hilarious that the one West Macaulay game was the one where they didn't get a single power play. But you're right.
Jesse, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears.
Jesse, do you go to minor hockey league games ever?
Not really.
You don't?
That'd be kind of weird.
Are you sure you don't go to minor hockey league games and berate officials?
I don't do that.
Okay, because I'm checking for the pinstripes on your back there.
That'd be kind of
somewhere.
weird.
It would be weird.
Yeah.
It'd be strange if somebody did that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be weird if you retired in disgrace and then continued your disgrace in retirement.
Adam, David Alter had some good Matthews quotes. It sounds like
I have Arun's quotes. Same thing.
He wants to re-sign him.
And I wanted to say one of these quotes about 10 minutes ago, but we got sidetracked. It supports one of Steve's previous points. First off, Austin Matthews, my intention is to be here. I think I've reciprocated that before, and how much I enjoy being here. He said Matthews says it's important to reach an extension before next season. I really do enjoy playing here. It's been a true honor. Guys, he's signing an extension July 1st.
Yeah.
Matthews, that was never really in question. Matthews on Dubas. I think he's a great GM. I think he's built a great culture here. My experience with Kyle has been a really positive one. And then Matthews on if the group will be kept together. I think the sense is it's kind of up in the air. It's kind of out of my control. Matthews reiterates his belief in the team's core has never wavered. And that's nice. But the results are not there. But I do like this. I think the sense is it's kind of up in the air. I think your superstar player, the best player that's probably ever played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, has just said to you, it's up in the air. Mm-hmm. And he's willing to sign an extension despite that, which I love.
I'm gonna.
If that's not good enough for you as a Leaf fan, I don't know what is.
I'm gonna die petty and mad about this. If you want to show me you're committed to winning, don't put your fucking jersey number in your contract.
Well, I think that was them being kids. And you know what? The person that should be blamed for that is Kyle Dubas.
Yeah.
Kyle Dubas should be blamed for that.
You think Lou would have let that shit fly?
No, the agent only acts on behalf of the player. And no matter how stupid the player's request is. I'm sure agents go all the time. And the number one rule in negotiation is you always give them something to say no to. The fact that the Leafs didn't say no to that and didn't go back and say, grow the fuck up.
Yeah, there's exceptions to the rule. Crosby taking 8.7 because it was way less than he should have been getting. But I just think back to Dubas having to call Ilya Mikheyev, hat in hand, and saying, we need you to take something like $15,000 less because we need it. And taking Zach Aston Reese into camp. And I know these players are not Austin Matthews. Let me finish my point. You yelling at the screen. No, you know what? They were. Zach Aston Reese having to take a ridiculously oblong number because they needed it. And Mark Giordano calling Kyle Dubas and saying, I want to take less so that I can make this work. I'm not asking Matthews to take far under market value. I'm asking him to not put his goofy fucking jersey number in his contract. And if it's what his agent suggests, you tell your agent, fuck off.
No, if you're a representative of the Maple Leafs, you say, we're not signing a contract like that. What if you guys don't win? You know how fucking stupid that's going to make you look?
Like
the Toronto Maple Leafs are supposed to be a heritage organization in the NHL. They're supposed to be one of the most respected crests in the entire game across the world. They are an international brand as far as that can go with North American hockey, let's be honest.
Yeah. Now
the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs ever allowed the fact that they had somebody in their law offices type 3-4 and 1-6.
Put emojis in there. Fuck it. Like, just we have to pay Matthews.
Squared.
Yeah, clown emoji, eggplant, fucking rolling on the floor, laughing emoji. Nothing matters. So what's the point? Like, just and Marner too. And if some of you are going to be like, I don't understand what you're talking about because you're looking at the cap friendly page. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember why this happened. Mm-hmm. But they had those goofy fucking numbers, Matthews and Marner. Matthews with his NHL jersey number, Mitch Marner with his London Knights number. Fuck my life. In their cap hit. For some reason, because of COVID, there was an adjustment and both of their cap hits went up slightly. So there's no 3-4 and there's no 9-3 in their cap hit. So by the way, your meme died.
It's just stupid.
Your meme contract
But tell me
died.
that you had the team over a barrel without telling me.
If the Leafs agree to sign another contract like that and you never go to another game again, I won't blame you.